Welcome to our latest edition of CharitEpulse, our bi-weekly charity podcast. My name is Charles Mosquito, Charities Director at Quilter-Cheviot Investment Management. I'm delighted to be joined, as always, by my regular musketeers, Catherine Ross-John-G, leading charity legal beagle at Shakespeare Martineau, and James Saunders, charity partner at leading accountancy and audit firm Moore Kingston Smith. Together, we explore the latest pressing issues affecting the charity sector. Don't forget, you can catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and our various websites. We'd love to have feedback, so please send us comments and questions. I thought it was going to be quite a quiet summer. However, we've got the anniversary of the Labour government. We have a revolt over a welfare bill. We have Trump's big, beautiful bill that's just been passed. We've got tariffs to come. Or more of them. There we are. So that was a good way to start the summer holidays. Anyway, quite a lot's been going on in the sector. The first thing I spotted was a headline around the government rejects society lottery cap rising despite a study showing the benefits to charities. And what the proposal is that I didn't even know there was a lottery cap, that the People's Postcode Lottery would rise from 50 million to 100 million, of which they've rejected. And the reason the government has rejected is that they want people to focus on the national lottery as such. Catherine, did you have a look at this? Did you have any thoughts about it?
I did have a look. I think it's an interesting one, wasn't it? Because they had increased the limits in 2020, I think, to go from 10 million to 50 million. So it's not like we haven't had anything in recent years about increasing the limits. But also, I think it was just the numbers behind the headlines that I found so interesting in terms of how efficient or otherwise some of these operators are. And the National Lottery is the one that is most used, and it benefits 52% of charities. So, it's highly efficient. We looked at some of the stats around, what their costs are and what proportion is then distributed to charities. So you could understand on that basis, if it's the most efficient, that the government is trying to direct people to that for a particular purpose, to increase the amount of money that is given to good causes as a result of the National Lottery. So I wasn't incensed. I did love the quote, though, from Clara Govier, I think it's pronounced, Managing Director of PPL, the only society lottery that's constrained by this cap. And she said the government's decision beggars belief. God, doesn't it? But I wasn't sure it did, actually. But exciting comment from her.
James?
Yeah, I mean, this report was the key bit of evidence, wasn't it? An independent report, I think, commissioned by the previous Conservative government, which did suggest that there could be more money from raising it. I would wonder what the size of the overall pot is, and as Catherine says, the government has the commitment to the National Lottery. Understandably, more money to charities, more money to it probably. So I can see why they've got to that point, and I think that beggars belief comment is a bit of hyperbole, really. I can see the sense in this.
Yeah, I have to say, I was sort of slightly thinking about why did we need a cap at all? But actually, I then went in and had a little bit of a look at the numbers. So for the National Lottery, 12%, there's a 12% payment as duty to the government. So you can see why they want to encourage people to be it, which doesn't appear to be with the People's Postcode Lottery. They talk about somewhere between 25 and 30% goes to good causes, 53% to prizes, 4% to the retailers that sell the tickets, and 5% to the operator, of which the operator makes 1%. If you have a look at the People's Postcode Lottery, and again, the numbers, whether they're fair to compare, but 30% of each ticket goes to charity, 40% in prizes, and 28% to the lottery operator. So I can see why government will want it on many gates, but pure inefficiency. I do slightly wonder whether they shouldn't actually have greater transparency so that people know exactly how much of their pound that they're spending is actually going to good causes and how much is going to the operator and whether that would influence people. The other thing in the article I spotted, and you're back to your favorite subject, James, of Omes, is that prize draws, which don't come under the Gambling Commission, they look like they're going to have a voluntary code. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, this is much more akin to beggaring belief, really, because this is rubbish, really. The very big one is obviously the Omaze, which is held out as this outlier, not regulated by the Gambling Commission, and it's not going to be either. There's going to be this voluntary code. Again, there was a separate study commissioned into this, which said that putting them under the Gambling Commission would have a significant positive impact on protecting charity money and safeguarding customers. But even in face of that, they've decided not to. The government says, or the decision has been made not to bring these prize draws under the Gambling Commission, and it's for something that is worth. Estimate that it's worth 1.3 billion pounds. That PDC sector. I think this is pretty poor. I think this is irresponsible.
I think if this was a big, beautiful bill, I think we'd be calling this the Omaze exception, because I think they have lobbied hard to not be included in this. Leave us alone. There's a big focus on they've raised more than 93 million for charities, but let's face it, they've made a heck of a lot more than that. And I think, clients regularly mention Omaze to me that it's just that. We've talked about it, whether it's the smell test, whether it's the association link, it's just not quite there, even though I'm drawn into the videos looking at these fabulous houses that are too big for me. But, there's something a bit funny there.
I mean, the estimates, Charles, are that the PDC's profits, the amount of profits going to charities is 10%, whereas the society's lotteries have to contribute 20%. So I mean, it's a very, very big discrepancy, and it's not being dealt with.
Yeah. So and there was in the article, wasn't there, a mention that Omes had stated that that they had raised more than 93 million for charities, which then on the maths of 10% means that's £1 billion. Yeah. On the things. I also liked it because it was the London Economics that had done a study on this, and the study concluded the voluntary code of conduct would have only a slight positive impact. And the other thing that they stated was that lotteries and prize draws, that the general public doesn't distinguish between the two, which, if you think about it, completely makes sense. So, yes. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that a voluntary code, I think this should come under the gambling, and I think they should have much greater transparency when they're selling the tickets about how much is actually going to charity. I noticed with the National Lottery, if you look it up, they say it's 58p for every £2. So there you go. So the next thing I noticed is Henry Smith has changed its name from Henry Smith Charity to Henry Smith Foundation. Catherine, did you have a look at this?
Yeah, this is what the emoji or expression LOL is for, because I roared with laughter that honestly, somebody, probably a whole team of people have advised on the optics of we need to change from charity to foundation, and this is life-changing, will transform the charity. And I don't know how much they've charged for this, but I did think this was a non-story, and I really thought you've not got bigger issues to focus on than going from charity to foundation, which I would say are interchangeable words. I don't think there was anything wrong with their name previously, but
well, the chief executive did say we need to ensure we're fair, transparent, and accessible, which I think was the headline for the thing. James, what did you think about this?
I thought the more interesting stuff was later on, actually, which the stats and the distribution, if you like, of their applications makes for interesting reading, and backs up what we've thought and what we've heard from elsewhere. A large increase in applications 2024 compared to 23, as we know, the reduction in government funding in the sector, and they need to make sure that they are funneling the right applications through. So it kind of supports what we've said in the past. large applications now, much larger numbers of applications to the grant-making trusts and the family trusts.
I have to say, I was sad enough to read their report that they issued. And it was, as far as I was concerned, it was full of a lot of what I call consultant speak, because I wasn't really clear about exactly what they were doing. What I hope they're doing is developing longer partnerships with the people that they fund, and giving a much greater sustainable future, and moving a bit like we've done with Glasspool, of moving from doing the applications ourselves and vetting the grants to actually giving money to those who are actually dealing with our beneficiaries. So hopefully Henry Smith is doing the same. I have to say, I rather like you, Catherine. I did find changing the name was. I hope it didn't cost them too much money, because I'm not sure what value that would be, or whether. I have to say, I did have to go and look up and check what its original name was. So that was how different it was. And then the final thing I spotted, in fact, Catherine, you spotted, not that I spotted, was the former health charity chair disqualified for benefiting from almost £350,000 of charity funds.
Yeah, I thought it was appalling. This charity was working in deprived areas in London, Tower Hamlets and Newham, providing grants for health-related education and facilities. So you think, yeah, I'm sure never more needed, really admirable aim. And one of the trustees, who happened to be the chair, in a 2-year period had been paid £350,000, which amounted to 60% of the charity's income. She's been disqualified for 7 years, but it only applies to her being a trustee, because she has her own consultancy company of which she's a director. She isn't also excluded from being a company director, only excluded from being a trustee. And as if her role wasn't bad enough, there were also a number of other trustees, more than half, who were also being paid, receiving different amounts, in breach of their governing document, in breach of charity law, da-di-da-di-da. The story that we had all seen was that the current trustees had managed to recover £165,000. Great. But actually, when I read into that, that is from the charity's insurance that has paid out. That's it. Top figure is they're going to give is 165. So actually, when I look at that and saying that's not recovering funds, that's not recovering funds from the trustees who received payments they were not entitled to, and nor was that action taken by the Charity Commission. It had to be taken by the trustees to pursue it through other means. So I thought there's a lot in this story, but all of it negative.
So does the Charity Commission have powers to pursue trustees for recovery of funds?
Well, back in the day, the Commission would make a restitution order, and they would say, you have received these payments, you're not entitled to them, and here's an order requiring you to make good. This is the amount that you have to pay in restitution. And they just don't do that anymore. And now it'll be, the trustees have to pursue it themselves. And we saw this a little bit with Captain Tom, that's got one trustee left facing a huge task of trying to get any money from anybody in relation to that charity. But I just find it disappointing that as the regulator, surely, you'd quake a little more to receive a letter from the regulator of charities in England and Wales telling you you've got to repay a charity than you would individuals. And we did also talk, didn't we, about whether the Charity Commission has finance available to do that. But I think they could start this and then retain a certain proportion of any funds they recover, which would self-finance that sort of initiative. I think when the Commission is criticised for not being a robust regulator, I often think it's this that people point to, that they want the Commission to take the lead.
James?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing for me, one of the interesting things is the timeline here. So this all relates back to 2016, 17, 18, I think. And I had a look back at the accounts for those periods, and Catherine's absolutely right. I mean, the majority of the trustees seemed to have their snouts in the trough. Frankly, it wasn't just one off. There were others as well. So it obviously became a bit of a culture, really, that everyone just fancied dipping their trotters in. So in the 2018 accounts, there is reference to the Charity Commission investigation and inquiry. So the London Borough of Tower Hamlets made a complaint to the Charity Commission at some point in probably 2017, 16, 17. The Charity Commission examined what went on, but found no wrongdoing at the charity. Then there was a second complaint from an MP Jim Fitzpatrick, who raised this in the House of Commons. And then the Charity Commission instituted a statutory inquiry, which at that point of signing those 2018 accounts, January 2019, was ongoing. And the charity said they were cooperating fully with the inquiry. So that's when this started. So you can see it's released, it's July 2025. It's taken 6 years to get through, plus to get through this statutory inquiry, which is obviously a very long time to investigate this stuff, to stuff that was going on back in 2017, 2018.
And we have criticised MPs in the past, haven't we, James, for saying, why are they getting involved in charity regulation? Keep out of it. And here, thank goodness they did, because otherwise this wouldn't have come to light.
The MP, yes, absolutely. And we've also criticised MPs, if you like, for saying, gosh, I mean, who was that chap that said it's glacially slow? And we've sort of challenged that. Well, unfortunately, they might have got to the right decision, the Charity Commission, but it's been 7 years since this actually happened. So that doesn't help the argument, does it?
No, but I agree with Catherine too. I think in these particular circumstances, there should be a pot of money where the Commission needs to go back and try and recover this money. If something that is clearly wrong,
fair enough.
Because if you've disqualified this trustee, then clearly there is something significant.
I don't disagree with that, and that's right. But it's taken 6 years, 7 years to disqualify a trustee for what is quite clearly wrong. I mean, if it's not in the, it's a huge amount of money taken out of this, what is essentially a charity earning not very much in the first place. Do you know what the income level was for this charity when there's 100?
I think it's about £350,000 a year, isn't it?
Yeah, it was less than that in one of the years. I mean, this one, 204,000 in, 337 out, of which a huge amount was to that one trustee. I mean, it's just. But it's so blatant and so wrong. Why has it taken so long to get to a judgment in something that is very clearly very wrong?
I mean, the thing is, you don't want to terrify people that they think that they're going to be financially at risk by becoming a trustee, but you also don't want to allow people to think that, this is a charity and we can go and do whatever we want, which is clearly inappropriate, and that there will be no consequences financially for doing so. So I think I agree with you. I think that they should be going for the whole lot and reclaiming that money.
Yeah,
the person, so be it.
163,000 in that year of 2017. It was 163,000 taken out of 246,000 income.
Yeah.
So that's just crazy, isn't it?
But
it's so blatant. For the consultancy fees. Wasn't it for re-engineering the charity? I mean, that's what it all seems to. The trustees' report seems to say. It's working on our strategy. And you can't see me doing the inverted commas with my fingers, but
they were distracted by a big project. They thought they were going to make millions from it. Turns out the project never materialized. They wasted an absolute fortune. The Commission was critical about how they conducted the charity. There's just so much wrong, but so obvious. Where I kind of think we don't need a big inquiry to find that. You just follow the money. And also there was a consultant who was paid £106,000 over 2 financial years, who was a pal of the chair, who was getting 350. So you kind of think it's all very convenient and cozy, but
and again, to be fair, Charles, it was spotted at the time. It's not like it's only just coming to light now. It was all spotted at the time, and clearly there were some concerns raised by various sources at the time. It amazes me that it's taken so long.
And what were the other trustees doing at the same time?
Well, I think they were all complicit in the same. I mean, if we look at the actual.
Well, there were two others, weren't there? I think one had got 50, one had got 11,000, and the other got 8,000 or something.
I mean, there were a lot of appointments and resignations at the same time in a short space of time. In that 2018 set of accounts, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 10 names on there. They have all got resigned or appointed next to them. So there's obviously a high turnover, and it's another red flag, isn't it? And I think you'll have found the same thing in the previous and the next set of accounts as well. High turnover of trustees because people are coming in, seeing what's going on, and saying, "I don't want anything to do with this."
Yeah, but So I agree with you. I think that I think in this particular instance I think the Charity Commission should explain why it has taken so long to come to the conclusion it has.
But for what it's worth, there was also a change in auditors halfway through that as well. I just make that point there. Do you know what? What I would say is and we've talked about this before. but the audit fees were ridiculously low on this client as well. In fact, it didn't even need an audit. And I know we're going on about, quite what kind of oversight is appropriate to what size of entity, but the whole thing just seems weird.
Yeah. With the size they were, they should have really been having an independent examination, shouldn't they? Which wouldn't have probably picked up on this potentially. Anyway, I think that's a good place to stop. Thank you, James. Thank you, Catherine. Say we live in interesting times would once again be an understatement. Thank you for listening. We would love to hear from you. If you have any questions or want us to cover any topics, do please get in touch. Do share with families and friends. And as according to our friends at Truth Social, this is the only charity podcast worth listening to.